My son's bride looked me dead in the eye and said, "You don't belong here. You're too low class for this family." My chest tightened, but I didn't flinch, not after raising a man who should have known better. I simply stood, smoothed my dress, and started walking toward that stage like I owned every step. That moment wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something none of them saw coming. Before I begin the story, tell me, where are you listening from today? The envelope came on a Tuesday morning, tucked between the water bill and a coupon book I never use. Thick ivory paper, gold lettering pressed into the surface like someone wanted to prove something. My name sat crooked on the front. Miss Maddie Kersey, not Mrs. Madeline Kersey, not mother of the groom. Just a mistake wrapped in expensive stationery. The cicadas outside were already singing, the air heavy with that late summer Montgomery heat that smells like magnolia and rust. I stood by the counter where sunlight hit the linoleum, holding the invitation as if it might burn me. The words blurred for a second. Reuben Kersey and Valora Haynes request the honor of your presence. And then I saw it. Clear as day. Guest, I whispered. Lord, they done turned my name into a stranger's. I set the card down beside the unpaid light bill and the framed photo of my husband in his Navy uniform. He'd passed 10 years ago, but his smile still knew how to steady me. Pride was something I tried to bury with him, yet this felt like a wound reopened. I touched his face through the glass. You see this mess, Henry? Our boy forgot who raised him. The kettle began to whistle, and I poured myself tea, the way I do when the world tries to tell me I'm less than I know I am. I couldn't help remembering Reuben as a boy sitting in the hospital cafeteria, drawing superheroes on napkins while I worked double shifts in scrubs too big for my frame. I'd tell him, "You don't grow dignity, baby, you practice it." He used to nod, eyes wide, promising he'd remember. Now my own son's wedding was reminding me just how small a person could feel when the people they love start editing them out. I stirred sugar into my cup and stared at the steam, letting the ache settle until I could call without shaking. When I dialed his number, he picked up on the third ring. Laughter and music floated through the line. "Hey, Ma, what's up?" "Sweetheart," I began, keeping my voice calm. "I just got the invitation. Says guest next to my name. That's a mistake, right?" He hesitated long enough for my stomach to drop. Valora handled all that stuff. The planner probably just copied from the list. Don't take it personal, okay? I said. I guess I'll just be one of the guests. Then he chuckled softly, distracted. "You know I love you." "Ma, gotta run. We're tasting wines right now." "Sure, baby," I answered. But the line went dead before the last word left my mouth. The house felt too quiet, even with the old clock ticking beside me. By Friday, I'd made up my mind. If they wanted Miss Maddie Kersey the guest, that's who they'd get. I packed my Sunday dress, the blue one Henry liked, folded neat in my suitcase. The bus to Atlanta hummed through 4 hours of red Alabama clay, the window showing cotton fields giving way to bright billboards and glass towers. I watched it all slide by and thought about how a city can shine so much it forgets its dirt. At the hotel, I found the ballroom packed with flowers that smelled more like money than roses. Valora glided toward me in a gold gown, every hair in place, smile tight enough to snap. "Oh, Miss Kersey," she said, using that "miss" like a fence post. "So glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it for the world," I answered. She turned before I could hug her. One of the bridesmaids whispered, "Not soft enough." "She's nice, just not, classy." The words hit clean and cold. I smiled the way a nurse smiles through a rude patient. "Funny thing about class," I said under my breath. "You can't buy the real kind at Nordstrom." Later that evening, in my small hotel room overlooking the city, I laid out my blue dress and polished my shoes until they shone like small moons. Henry's voice came back to me clear as if he were still beside me. "Keep your chin up. Maddie, they can't shame what you don't surrender." So I didn't. I sat on the edge of the bed, smoothed the wrinkled invitation flat, and pulled out my pen, under the printed Miss Maddie Kersey, guest. I wrote in my neatest hand, "Mother of the groom, Then I slid it back into its envelope, a quiet correction only I needed to see outside. The city pulsed with lights and laughter. I stood at the window, the reflection of my face split between glass and night. "Yo, you can call me low class all you want," I whispered, "but you're about to see how I was raised." The elevator doors opened to a corridor glowing with gold light. I caught my reflection in a wall mirror, steady face, calm eyes, blue dress pressed smooth, and whispered, "Keep it together, Maddie." A young staffer pointed me toward the ballroom with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I thanked her anyway. Inside, the air was cool and sweet with flowers, the kind that cost more than a week's groceries. The tables were dressed in crystal and linen, names printed in gold ink. I saw Reuben cross the hall, laughing with his groomsmen. He spotted me, waved quick, and said, "I'll be right back, Ma," before turning toward a cluster of donors. The smile never reached his eyes. People glided past me with soft laughter and sharper looks. One bridesmaid whispered, "Make sure the family tables are tight," and that word, family, hung in the air like perfume. I breathed slow, remembering Henry's voice, "Don't rise to what doesn't deserve you." "Evening," I told the hostess with all the grace my mother raised in me. She nodded without looking up and placed me near the aisle, far enough from the head table to know exactly where I stood. I greeted Marceline and Dr. Theophilus Haynes, who returned polite smiles too polished to be real. "Bless your heart," she said, her tone sugared and sharp. I've lived long enough to hear what that really means. "Where's Valora?" I asked, scanning the crowd. "Oh, flitting around," Marceline said, smoothing her gown, making sure everything looks elevated. A younger cousin glanced at my tote and giggled. "You know, this venue doesn't allow outside food." "Good thing I brought only my manners," I answered. Her smile slipped just enough to make me proud. Reuben drifted by, introducing me to an executive from his firm. The man shook my hand, eyes already sliding past me. "Lovely evening." The Haynes family really knows refinement. He clinked glasses with Theophilus before I could answer. At the photo wall, I counted pictures of Reuben and Valora at beaches, rooftops, vineyards, everywhere but home. I wasn't in a single one. I smoothed my shawl and whispered, "Notice, don't react. Gather, don't scatter." A coordinator checked a tablet, murmured something to a server. I heard the phrase, "Keep her near the aisle." My ears, trained by years of hospitals and gossip, didn't miss much. Reuben stopped by again, eyes darting. "You doing okay, Ma? Room comfortable?" "Comfort's fine," I said. "Just make sure you're juggling right from wrong, not just schedules." He swallowed, nodded once, and slipped away. The MC, a young man named Kai, tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the bride." Valora stepped forward under the chandelier. Her dress caught every drop of light. Her voice poured like honey, practiced and precise. "We're so grateful for everyone who understands the standards of an event like this," she said, "and for the families who shaped our sense of class and culture." She turned to her parents, not to us. The room hummed with polite laughter. I sipped my water. My pulse didn't move. Then she smiled wider. "We did our best to include everyone. Not everyone's used to high-end etiquette. Some folks come from lower places." Laughter rippled, thin, cruel, controlled. Someone called out, "Low-class folks can learn." My heart didn't race. It settled, heavy as iron. Henry used to say there's a silence that speaks louder than shouting. I was sitting inside that silence. "Doctor." Haynes lifted his glass. Marceline folded her hands as if she'd just blessed the meal. I placed my palms flat on the table, lifted them again, and sat taller. Reuben stood behind her, half smiling, gripping his glass. I waited for him to stop it, to say, "That's not right," but he didn't. His throat moved, and then he toasted. I looked at the boy I'd raised, the same one who cried when he couldn't spell his name right, and all I saw was distance. A woman nearby murmured, "Some people just don't appreciate polish." I turned my head slowly. "Where I'm from, we call that respect." Her lips pressed shut. Reuben met my eyes for a half a second, regret flickering there. Then he looked away. That silence cut deeper than any insult could. Kai cleared his throat, voice trembling. Let's hear it for the happy couple." The band struck a chord too cheerful for the room. A waiter appeared with champagne. I waved it off. "Water suits me fine," I said. Marceline brushed by me and murmured, "Some lessons are best learned by watching." I stored it away like evidence. I sent a text to Opal Linton. "Bring what we discussed." Her reply came fast. "Morning." I folded my napkin. One sharp crease down the middle. Stillness isn't surrender, it's strategy. As the music swelled, Valora passed behind me, perfume trailing like smoke. "We're elevating you, Miss Kersey," she whispered. "Try to keep up." I smiled without looking back. "Oh, sweetheart," I said softly. "You have no idea how high I can climb." The city was still dark when I woke. The hum of the AC filled the quiet, and the skyline blinked like a tired heartbeat through the curtains. I laid my blue dress across the chair and rubbed a spot on my low heels until they caught the faintest shine. The invitation sat on the nightstand where I'd left it. I ran my thumb over the wrong name again, Ms. Maddie Kersey, guessed, then slid it back into its envelope. No sigh, no tear. I'd already spent enough energy on people trying to rename me. I brewed the in-room coffee, the bitter smell reminding me of break rooms and night shifts. "I've stood up to worse storms than a ballroom," I whispered to the empty air. My eyes fell on the schedule posted by the elevator. Family-only slideshow, 11 a.m. I didn't flinch, just took note. That scent of coffee pulled me back years, to Montgomery, when the machines beeped louder than my own heartbeat and my son colored napkins while I counted hours. 2 jobs, 2 buses, 2 pairs of shoes, I'd tell him. We're rich, baby. Not in money, but in what lasts. He'd look up with those big eyes, believing me. I worked 12-hour shifts, washed my uniform at midnight, tucked change into a jar marked college. When I finally filled it, I told myself I'd raised him steady, not shiny. I saw myself back in that hospital, catching a newborn's first cry, holding life in my hands while my own life waited on the bus schedule. People call it sacrifice. I called it survival with purpose. And now, my boy stood quiet while someone else measured my worth by the cut of my dress. Dignity, I reminded myself, ain't something you buy, it's something you keep clean, like a uniform. By 7, I went downstairs for breakfast. The hotel cafe smelled like toasted bread and faint arrogance. I ordered oatmeal and black coffee. The young man behind the counter called me ma'am without looking up. Nearby, a table of bridesmaids scrolled through their phones. I caught bits of their talk. Family slideshow. Aesthetic. Keep it curated. I smiled into my cup. Marceline Haynes swept by in pearls and perfume. 2 women flanking her. One said, "Isn't it nice when everyone knows their place?" They all laughed, low and rehearsed. I dabbed my mouth, folded my napkin sharp as a lesson, and kept my silence. Some moments don't deserve a witness. They deserve a receipt. I left a good tip and the folded bill under my saucer. Paper can talk when it needs to. In the elevator up. I inhaled for 4 counts. Exhaled for 6. The rhythm I used before surgeries, when precision meant everything. The next memory came without invitation. Months earlier, at Valora's engagement dinner, her dress tore at the hem right before photos. Panic spread fast. Phones lifted to record the scene. I pulled a small sewing kit from my purse, habit born of necessity, and offered help. She looked startled, then amused, like I'd just proven her point about resourceful women at my kitchen table later, under one small lamp. I stitched her dress neat again while she scrolled her phone, recording the before for social media. She didn't post the after. When she left, she said, "You're handy." I smiled. "I'm prepared." She didn't hear the difference. Ruben texted a heart that night. I replied, "Some things I taught you don't show up on screens." He never answered. Now, in this hotel morning, I saw every small insult like a trail of breadcrumbs. The wrong name, the seating, the slideshow, the toast. Not accidents, a pattern. The kind designed to shrink you slow enough you don't notice. But I noticed. I stacked each piece in my head like evidence on a chart. This wasn't about forgetting, it was about rewriting, making me a guest in the story I built. No begging, no yelling, no spectacle. My plan was cleaner. I checked my purse. Compact mirror, phone, pen, small notepad, and the USB drive labeled Faith. I didn't open it. Some truths need their own timing. I texted Opal Linton. "We're still on," she replied. "Church ready and kitchen mean." I smiled. That woman never did anything halfway. I found Reuben alone near the water station. He looked like a boy again, guilty without words. "Son," I said, "you know the difference between private and secret?" He winced. "Mom, please, not now. Some things you can't outsource," I told him. "Your backbone, your word." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Valora's sensitive about presentation." "I'm not fragile," I said quietly. "I'm finished being invisible." He tried to hug me. Halfway, I stayed still. "Save hugs for when they're honest." He sighed. "Please don't make a scene." I looked at him, soft but firm. "I don't make scenes. Reuben, I make timelines." The words hung there like prophecy. He turned away before I could see if he understood. I walked the corridor toward the family-only room. A woman with a clipboard blocked the door. "Family only," she said. I smiled. "That's my life's job title." She blinked, unsure. I stepped aside, let others pass. Smiles, chatter, perfume. My heartbeat stayed even. Through the door crack, I saw the slideshow flicker to life. Baby Reuben, baptism, school portraits, and I knew before seeing it that I wouldn't be in a single frame. I touched the cool USB in my purse, whispering, "If they erase the roots, the tree will fall in public." The coordinator turned to me, pen ready. "Name?" I straightened, looked her dead in the eye. "Mother of the groom." Her pen hovered midair. I smiled, sweet and calm. "You can write it in if you need to." The woman with the clipboard didn't blink when I said it again, slow and clear. "Mother of the groom." She looked past me. "The way people do when they hope you'll dissolve." I kept my voice calm. "Sunday, steady." Behind her, I saw Reuben slip by, adjusting his tie. His face tight, he mouthed, "I'll fix it," before the door shut behind him. "Family only," the woman repeated. Softer but still holding the line like it was scripture. I didn't push. I just stood there a moment, quiet as a church pew, long enough for her to shift her weight. Piano music floated through the crack, something elegant and hollow. I could hear laughter and the slide of picture frames on a screen. They were managing optics, not memories. A nurse learns to log before she acts. You take notes. You wait for the right pulse to move. I turned away, checked my watch, and headed toward the ceremony hall. Some battles deserve witnesses. At the welcome table, a young man pointed at a laminated seating chart. "Name?" he asked. I scanned for myself before answering. There it was. Maddie Kersey, guest, in the smallest font, near the restroom icon. I traced it once with my fingertip. "Could you check if that's correct?" I asked. He frowned. "We go by the list, ma'am." "Mother of the groom." I said each word like a step on solid ground. He nodded without writing a thing. "Appreciate your help," I said, tone even. Dignity doesn't wait for validation. It lives in the pauses people don't expect. The room gleamed gold and white, but my path led down a side aisle of gray carpet and exit signs. My table was close enough to smell disinfectant from the restroom, far enough that the head table looked like a stage in another town. I found my name again, on a folded card by a centerpiece taller than my pride. Maddie Kersey, guest. The word guest looked small but deliberate. The bathroom door opened and shut every 30 seconds. I could see the reflection of fluorescent light flickering against my glass. A server touched the back of my chair. "We'll need this space clear for tray traffic." "Of course," I said. My hands stayed folded in my lap. Inside, I cataloged the sentence. Placement is message. I centered my place card, took a picture with my phone, date, time, proof. A groomsman passed by. Awkward smile. "Wow, logistics, huh?" "Logistics," I said softly, "is just what happens after choices get made." I adjusted my chair inward by half an inch. No one decides the inches of my existence but me. Marceline Haynes approached next, wearing her pearls like medals. "We wanted everyone comfortable," she said sweetly. "Near the powder room is convenient." "Convenience," I replied, "is for coats and umbrellas. I'm neither." Her smile twitched. Dr. Haynes stepped in, tapping the floor plan with one manicured finger. Our planner grouped guests by etiquette fluency. He said it like he was diagnosing a rash. I tapped my card once against the table. Click. "Then I suppose I'm the control group." A bridesmaid giggled nearby. "She'll be fine." I met her eyes until the giggle died. Some lessons don't need words. I texted Opal Linton. They stacked the deck. Bring the other deck. Her reply came back, already shuffling. I rose to stretch, and a woman from the Haynes side brushed my arm. "It's family. Sit down," she said, smiling too hard. "I am family," I answered. Calm as prayer. She stumbled over an apology about photographers and angles. I sat again, not because she told me, but because I chose to. The next move would be mine. Reuben appeared near the aisle, looking small inside that expensive suit. Our eyes met. He didn't speak, just stood there with that silent plea that I carry his discomfort for him. I tilted my head. No. Valora motioned him over with 2 fingers, and he obeyed. That image, her calling, him going, I stored it for later. I took another picture, this time. I framed the restroom door, the silver tray line, and the glowing head table beyond. Context matters. From my purse. I pulled a small notebook and wrote seating label. Aisle placement, family, sit down, witness server, black vest. I slid the notebook under the card. Stillness mistaken for surrender again. That's always their first mistake. Reuben came back, crouched low between chairs. "Ma, I'll move you after the vows." I didn't even blink. A backbone is something you move before the vows. "Please," he whispered. "Don't make a scene." "I don't make scenes," I told him. "I keep records." He exhaled, eyes heavy, then straightened. "I have to line up for photos." Of course he did. My phone buzzed. Opal. On site. I typed, "Wait for my cue." Music swelled as staff dimmed the sidelights. The restroom sign glowed faintly over my shoulder while chandeliers blazed across the main hall. Kai Mercer's voice rang out. "Before we begin, a small family highlight. Please turn to the screens." I folded my napkin once across my lap and lifted my chin toward the light. The lights dimmed until the whole room took on the color of still water. I folded my napkin once, neat and small, and lifted my chin toward the glowing screens. A soft hum filled the hall, the whir of projectors, the crowd's anticipation, the hush that always comes before a curated truth. The first image appeared, baby Reuben, wrapped in a blue blanket, his eyes closed tight, a nurse's gloved hands supporting him, no parents, no faces, just hands. The music swelled on cue, strings pretending to guide our hearts. Then came birthdays, graduations, vacations, perfect frames clipped at the edges, where the messy parts of life used to be. Every picture was polished, rehearsed, safe. I counted the patterns as I watched. Each transition cut out the hands holding the cake, the body behind the decorations, the shadow beside the child. They edited out the labor but kept the light. I kept my breath steady, counting like I used to during emergency codes. Inhale 4, exhale 6. Let them speed the heartbeat of the room. Mine would not rush for them. Then came Reuben's school pictures. His tie perfectly pressed, the same shirt I ironed at 2 in the morning before my double shift. The camera caught his grin, but not the woman behind the iron. Another slide. His first track medal. His senior year award. The diploma I worked nights to afford. My kitchen appeared in one frame, recognizable by the faded wall clock, but the photo cut off right at my shoulder, like someone decided motherhood had borders. Graduation. He tossed his cap high, and the lens panned the sky, not the stands where I sat crying behind my sunglasses. I felt the ache rise, not from absence, but from intention. This wasn't an oversight. Someone curated me out on purpose. I whispered, low and even. That's a choice, not a mistake. The slideshow rolled on, and then it hit the still frame that stayed too long. Valora. She stood in a champagne-colored gown, smiling like she'd just invented grace. My breath caught. That was my dress. The one she'd ripped the hem on months ago, the one I repaired at my own kitchen table. My needle, my thread, my hands, and there it was, on screen with the caption, Valora's signature look. A murmur of admiration moved through the tables. She always had taste, one bridesmaid said, sipping her champagne. I tasted metal on my tongue and pressed it against my teeth to keep from laughing. I didn't want applause, just accuracy. But accuracy is a kind of threat when you're the one they've decided to forget. My eyes found the faint line of stitching along her gown's hem. My stitch. straight and steady, the same way I'd kept this family standing for decades. I set my glass down gently, aligning the condensation ring with my memory's ledger. Marceline Haynes tilted her head at the screen like she was admiring a painting she commissioned. Doctor. Haynes timed his smile with the applause, his chin lifted high. A donor nearby whispered, "Such polish," and someone answered, "The Haynes know how to do it right." The restroom door hissed open behind me, and the scent of sanitizer mixed with perfume. I adjusted my chair again, half an inch closer to center. Small moves matter when the room's trying to erase you. 2 guests at my table stole glances my way, pity softening their mouths. I kept my hands on my lap, palms down, fingers still. A nurse learns that stillness can control chaos better than any medicine. Then I saw him, Reuben, standing at the head table, a shadow carved from guilt. The glow from the screen slid across his cheekbones, tracing every line I once kissed. "Good night," for 3 seconds. He looked at me. 3 exact seconds. His mouth opened like he might speak. Then Valora's hand landed on his sleeve. 2 soft taps. Ownership disguised as affection. He looked away. Just like that. The music swelled again, filling the space where his apology should have lived. I thought of every night I'd sat by his bed during fevers, whispering prayers over his hot skin. That memory straightened my spine. I didn't need his defense anymore. "If he won't stand up today," I whispered to myself, "I won't kneel to make room." I lifted my phone under the table, quiet and deliberate. 1 photo, the glowing screen, another, the faces smiling up at it. 3rd, my place card, Maddie Kersey, guest. 3 angles of the same truth. I opened my small notebook and wrote omission total, caption false, witnesses, entire hall. Then I underlined the words once. Sharp and clean, I'd recorded worse lies in hospital charts. The slideshow ended with a sunset photo of Reuben and Valora on some rooftop. Champagne glasses raised. The audience exhaled together. A choir rehearsed for someone else's truth. I didn't join in. I reached for the cold edge of the USB in my purse. The one marked Faith. It pressed against my palm like a secret ready to stand. My phone buzzed. Opal. Not in a single frame. Bring the gold envelope to the side entrance at 2. Her reply came fast. Sugar, I've got church patience and kitchen knives. Which you need? I sent her a single dot. She'd know it meant timing. On the run of show card, I saw it, after the toasts, after the first dance. A special surprise. I smiled. Surprises belong to whoever controls the microphone. I took a slow sip of water, clear, cold, grounding. "We'll do this once," I murmured, "just for me. Then we're done doing it for them." Applause broke out as the lights rose again. Kai Mercer's voice carried across the hall, smooth and practiced. "Let's thank both families for sharing such a beautiful journey." I laid my napkin down. Neat, centered, ready. "Beautiful," I said softly. "Now we'll make it honest." I stood as the applause faded, not clapping, not smiling, just breathing slow and deliberate. The screens dimmed to black behind me while laughter and chatter swelled across the ballroom. I slipped quietly through the service corridor. Stainless steel carts lined the walls, the air thick with lemon polish and leftover champagne. I checked my phone. 1 buzz from Opal. Close. A busboy caught sight of me and straightened his vest. "Ma'am, you looking for the side door?" "That's right," I said softly. "Thank you. Baby." He pointed toward the magnetic exit. Careful not to meet my eyes too long. Southern kindness mixed with curiosity. I passed him with a nod, the moment the door closed behind me. The noise of celebration thinned into silence. The smell outside was crisp, faint gasoline and magnolia. I checked my purse. The USB marked Faith pressed against my palm like a coin from another life. Everything I needed to set the record straight fit in one small bag. The side door opened again with a hush, and there she was, Opal Linton, broad-shouldered in her church hat, walking like she owned daylight. She held an envelope close to her chest. "Plan B," she said, tapping it once. We didn't hug. We didn't need to. We stood side by side like women who've learned that surviving quietly is its own choreography. "You call the rhythm," Opal said. "I'll carry whatever needs carrying. You keep me honest if my hands shake." Her eyes softened. Your hands never shake unless it's mercy. I opened the envelope just enough. Inside, a photograph of Valora at my kitchen table, her dress spread across my lap, my hands mid-stitch. Lamplight turning the thread gold, another photo underneath. Reuben as a baby, asleep on my chest, his name scrawled in my handwriting on the back, and tucked between them, a handwritten card from Pastor Dell. If anyone asks what she's been, I'll stand and say it plain. We didn't need him here. His words were already enough. Timing, I murmured. Timing. Opal echoed. We moved back inside, through the narrow service lane toward the stage. The hum of the AV booth grew louder. Screens, cables, men with headsets running cues. Kai Mercer, the master of ceremonies, rehearsed lines under his breath. After the toast, then the surprise, then transition to first dance. I leaned toward the nearest tech. "Excuse me, baby, could I trouble you for a bottle of water?" He handed it over, distracted. I caught a glimpse of the cue sheet on the table, in bold letters, surprise vid, 3:07 p.m. I logged it. Opal scanned the layout, where the handheld mic rested, which spotlight followed movement. Years of choir practice and kitchen rush hours trained us for this. Knowing rhythm, predicting pressure. 3 minutes after that cue, I said, "Got it." She replied. I rolled my shoulders back, inhaled for 4 counts, exhaled for 6. The same pattern I used before inserting an IV on a trembling child. Calm hands save lives. Calm hands save truth. From the ballroom, Kai Mercer's voice floated in, honeyed and hollow. "They're gonna cry," he told a planner. "The bride loves when they cry on cue." On cue, that phrase landed sharp. I'd been made to play my part long enough. Opal's gaze met mine. "You sure you don't want me to speak first?" I shook my head. My voice, my story. We slipped back through the tray lane, unseen among servers carrying crystal and laughter. My purse thumped lightly against my hip, a small heartbeat reminding me what I carried. Faith, pen, notepad, compact, tissues, the Plan B envelope tucked close like armor. I made a mental note of my unplanned witnesses, the server in the black vest, the young busboy, the florist with hands full of roses who saw where they sat me earlier, by the restroom. "Not the family," I whispered. "Let them play their surprise first, then we stand." Opal nodded. "And when you stand tall." "Always," I said. We found a quiet alcove behind the sound booth. Opal laid the photographs on the counter like a communion offering. "You don't need all of it," she said. "Just enough they can't pretend not to see." I chose the kitchen table photo. My hands were steady, the hem smooth, proof of a mother's labor repackaged as someone else's polish. The Polaroid of baby Reuben. I slid that back into the envelope. That one was mine alone. "One time," I said. "One time," she agreed. I rehearsed the words that would carry. "Mother of the groom, 1 sentence." The next line steadied me. "I'm not here to shame your daughter. I'm here to correct a record." And the final. "In case they tried to silence me, we can finish in 30 seconds and start your dance." I practiced where I'd set the envelope, on the table edge, visible but not intrusive. My stance, feet even. Voice low, controlled. I'd spent years holding others steady, and now I'd hold myself. The ballroom lights shifted brighter. Kai Mercer's microphone clicked on. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, "if I can have your attention, we've got a surprise for the families." Opal's whisper brushed my ear. "Timing. Timing," I echoed, touching Faith with 2 fingers and the envelope with 1. Then I stepped out from the shadows toward the light we didn't buy. But that was ours to use all the same. Kai Mercer's voice rolled through the speakers, velvet and bright. "Before we start the first dance, we've got a little surprise for the families." The lights dimmed again, soft gold bleeding into silver. That was my cue. I rose from the table by the restroom door, smoothing my dress once. The server in the black vest froze when he saw me step into the aisle. "Ma'am, the next segment's..." I met his eyes, calm but clear. "Mother of the groom, 1 sentence." He stepped back immediately. "Yes, ma'am." The carpet stretched ahead like a long hallway in one of my old night shifts. Quiet, expectant, full of breath. I counted the steps, 4 in, 6 out. That rhythm had carried me through harder rooms than this. Conversations thinned as I passed. The hush behind me followed like a wave knowing where to land. Reuben's face turned toward me halfway down the aisle. His eyes searched mine for warning or retreat. I gave him neither. I just kept walking, one hand steady on my purse. Valora Haynes glanced at the head table, her fingers brushing the polished edge as though to mark territory. I stopped just at the stage stairs, my chin lifted on instinct, the way women do when they remember they built the ground other people walk on. Kai Mercer turned, smile ready. I spoke before he could frame me into his show. Mr. Mercer, may I borrow the microphone for one sentence, as mother of the groom? He blinked, unsure, then looked at the planner. I stayed composed. One sentence, eh? I said softly. Then your program continues. Something in my tone carried Sunday authority. He handed the mic over. I adjusted it lower, hands loose, posture even. Thank you, I began. My name is Madeline Kersey. I'm not here to shame your daughter. I'm here to correct a record. A murmur drifted, then stopped. I turned toward the AV table. Kindly play the file labeled 00 open. It will take under 2 minutes. The technician hesitated. Glancing at the planner, I pulled the small silver USB from my purse. Faith. The engraving caught the chandelier's light, a soft gleam of something unarguable. Pastor Dell stood in the back, silent, nodding once. The technician swallowed, plugged it in, and clicked. The big screen behind us flickered to life. I stepped to the side, not center, not behind the table, just where everyone could see truth without distraction. Theophilus Haynes crossed his arms. Marceline's smile froze like sugar on a cold pie. Valora whispered something to a coordinator, but the microphone in her hand wasn't live. The first frame appeared. A hospital corridor, 5:41 a.m. My badge hung crooked on my uniform. Subtitles read the year Reuben was 8. The next cuts came quick. Tuition receipts, cafeteria trays, my hand writing lunch paid. The captions timed every detail like a heartbeat. Over it. My recorded voice spoke low and steady. Where I'm from, love shows up on time cards and check stubs. It washes uniforms at midnight and stirs a pot before dawn. Someone gasped quietly, then a laugh from a child. Reuben, younger, echoed through the speakers. My voice again. I told my boy, we're not rich in show. We're rich in what stays when the show ends. The clip ended on my hands counting quarters into a glass jar labeled college. The room didn't move. The next video began, my kitchen table, the same lamp I still own. The torn hem of a champagne dress lay across it. Valora's voice played faintly. Before? Then my hands mended the fabric in small, precise stitches. Caption. Elegance does not happen by accident. The camera panned over my neat seam, the one straight as prayer. I didn't turn when whispers rippled. I just listened to the sound of realization fill the air. The clip faded out. Another cut followed. Me in scrubs, washing a plate. My voice tired but sure. Son, you'll be someone one day. I don't need the picture. I just need the man I raised. Then photos, his freshman dorm door. My money order stub, the empty glass jar, and finally, the blue dress I wore today, hanging pressed, ready. My recorded voice ended the video. Respect is not inherited, it is exercised. The hall breathed as one, soft, human, no performance left in it. I lifted the mic again. Thank you for your patience, I said evenly. That's all I wanted. Truth on record, please. Enjoy the dance you planned. I set the microphone back on its stand. My fingers brushed the golden envelope resting on the head table's edge. Evidence needed witnesses, not applause. I left it there. I stepped down the stairs just as I came, slow, unbothered, every movement deliberate. As I passed Valora, she turned her head, jaw trembling. I didn't stop. Marceline hissed something like, "How dare!" But the rest drowned under the stillness. I reached my table by the restroom again and sat, not defeated, restored. The same place they thought would shame me now turned into a front row seat to their undoing. A chair scraped suddenly. Valora stood, cheeks flushed, voice shaky, sweet. "Well, what a performance!" "Doctor." Haynes grabbed her wrist. "Sit down," he whispered. Too late, Kai Mercer fumbled for the mic, and one of the planners tripped over a wire. The room tilted toward chaos. I folded my napkin once, placed it in my lap, and exhaled. Some storms you don't run from, you schedule them. The last frame dissolved into black, and the hall held its breath. No applause, no chatter, just the sound of air deciding what to do next. I left the microphone where it was, hands open at my sides. I'd said enough. Let silence do its arithmetic. Valora Haynes rose too quickly, her chair shrieking across marble, her smile stretched too wide, all sugar over broken glass. "Well," she sang, voice sweet and sharp. "Wasn't that something?" Marceline whispered. "Sit down, baby." But Valora was already striding forward, sequins hissing like dry leaves. Reuben half moved from his seat, then froze, caught between duty and display. Kai Mercer shuffled his cue cards, searching for a bridge back to comfort. The room wouldn't cross with him. Every guest looked to someone else to start the next breath. Valora snatched the mic. "Bless," she cooed, letting the word drip honey and venom together. "Some folks don't understand how class works." A brittle laugh scattered through the tables. "Sewing a hem doesn't make you couture, sweetheart. Working a job doesn't make you important." Her perfume hit sharp in the air as she turned toward me. "This is my wedding," she announced. "We invited everyone, even the low-class side, because we're gracious like that." A donor blinked. A bridesmaid's giggle died mid-note. I lifted my chin. "Calm as Sunday?" "Miss Haynes, respect isn't a dress code," I said. "It's conduct." Her nostrils flared. "This is not your stage." "No, ma'am," I said evenly. "It's your mirror." That line broke the room's veneer. Gasps, rustles, whispers. Every polite face cracking at once. The wedding planner, pale under her headset, made a slicing motion at the AV booth. "Cut sound!" Kai Mercer lunged for the board, panic rising behind his polished smile. The microphone crackled. The volume dipped. Valora's smirk bloomed again. Then Opal Linton appeared from the service lane. Hat tilted, eyes steady, presence calm as a deacon collecting tithes. She walked right up to the AV table. "Don't make this uglier than it already is." "Sweetheart," she said, just loud enough for the tech to hear. He hesitated, glanced between her and me, then stopped touching dials. The sound returned. Clear as gospel. I didn't take the mic back. I let Valora keep it, so her words could live and rot in the same air they were born. The gold envelope on the head table caught a beam of light. I slid it half an inch closer to the edge, just enough that the cameras and the donors could see it gleam. I didn't open it, didn't gesture toward it. Evidence speaks louder when you don't beg anyone to listen. One of the donors leaned forward, squinting. "That looks like Maddie's kitchen," he muttered to his wife. "I've been there. Church fundraiser, years ago." "Doctor." Theophilus Haynes followed his gaze, jaw ticking. "Leave it," he whispered to Marceline, but his eyes tracked that envelope like it was live wire. Marceline folded her hands, smiling too tight to breathe. I stayed still, palms down, not claiming, not surrendering, just letting truth sit where it belonged. The crowd murmured. A bridesmaid whispered, "Just say sorry," to Valora. "Sorry," Valora hissed, voice slicing. To her, I spoke one clean line. "I came to see my son marry," I said. "I won't be erased to make anyone feel taller." The same busboy from earlier slipped through the tables, setting a glass of water beside me with quiet reverence. I nodded my thanks. In a room full of money and noise, kindness still found its way. Kai Mercer lifted his mic again. Let's give the couple..." He stopped when half the room refused to clap. I stayed silent. Too much medicine at once can stop a heart. Too many words can do the same. I turned slightly, angling my body so anyone taking photos would catch both the restroom door behind me, where they sat me, and the head table ahead, glowing under borrowed chandeliers. Valora's voice cracked through the tension. "Reuben, tell your mother to sit down. Tell her to stop making drama. Be a man." The word man fell heavy and sharp. I saw Reuben's throat move, his hand lift, fall, lift again. I didn't help him. A mother who keeps rescuing her grown son teaches him nothing but drowning. He looked around, the donors, the servers, Opal, me. Then he stepped to my side, close enough that his sleeve brushed mine. "Mom stays," he said, low but clear. Gasps, a scattered clap. Someone whispered. Good for him. Valora's face drained of color. Marceline's didn't. She just froze in place, composure cracking at the edges. The planner mouthed security toward a guard. The guard barely shook his head. There was no threat here, only truth. Doctor. Haynes leaned toward Valora, muttering, We'll handle this privately. She wrenched her arm away. We already handled it. She waved toward the dark screen where my video had played. A donor's voice. Steady but firm. Cut through. The lady asked for respect. It wasn't loud, but it traveled. Kai Mercer tried again. Voice shaking. Ladies and gentlemen, the first dance. The band didn't move. The leader's eyes shifted from Reuben to me. The downbeat never came. Reuben looked at me, then faced the crowd. We do not insult my mother at my wedding, he said. Louder this time. The silence that followed was thick, honest, cleansing. Valora clutched the mic again, voice trembling. Then maybe there isn't a wedding. A glass somewhere clinked, the faintest echo of a gasp. I set 2 fingers on the gold envelope, steadying it as the table trembled under shifting weight. Careful, I said quietly, to no one and everyone. Things fall easy when they're built on pretending. Valora's voice, sharp and shaking, still hung in the air. Then maybe there isn't a wedding. The words landed heavy, breaking what was left of the room's rhythm. A glass clinked somewhere. A baby whimpered, then went still. I didn't flinch. I just softened my knees the way I did during long ICU shifts, ready for whatever came next, grounded in my own balance. Kai Mercer tried to patch it together, fumbling for his cue cards. Folks, let's move into the first dance. His voice faltered when the band leader glanced around and didn't lift his hands. The guests shifted, restless. A bridesmaid whispered. She didn't mean it. But the man beside her said, she said it with a mic. The tension pulsed through the hall, invisible but thick. I kept my palms flat on the linen, not clutching or hiding. I'd learned to chart facts, not feelings, and this was a moment worth documenting in memory. Across the aisle, Reuben's face tightened. He looked at Valora, then at me, eyes moving like a man trying to read 2 exit signs. He stood slowly, then reached for the microphone. We're going to pause, he said, voice unsteady but strong enough to carry. The planner in her headset mouthed no from across the room, but no one stopped him. The air listened. Reuben took a breath and looked out, not at me. I won't marry anyone who humiliates my mother, he said. We need a pause. Valora's manicured hand shot out, gripping his sleeve. Reuben, don't do this, she hissed, her nails bright against his suit. He lowered the mic, gently pulled free, and stepped 1 pace away, clean, final. A ripple moved through the tables, small gasps, then quiet nods. A man near the back muttered, That's a man, and didn't realize the room had heard him. I breathed deep, 4 in, 6 out, not to calm myself but to steady the pulse of the space around me. The venue manager entered then, gray suit crisp, face neutral as a notary. Per our contract, he said. The program is paused for decorum. His tone was smooth, almost bureaucratic. All microphones will remain off until an authorized restart. He gestured to the AV tech, who powered down the mics and brought up soft ambient light. Marceline Haynes smiled tightly. We're the hosts. The manager nodded politely. And we're the venue. We enforce decorum for all guests. Staff began clearing the aisle, folding napkins that didn't need folding, an elegant way to make space and manage liability at the same time. I recognized that kind of efficiency. Order, calm, policy. It felt like being back in control of a code blue. Opal Linton stationed herself near the AV booth, hands clasped in front of her, calm as a pastor before benediction. The silence deepened, then a soft, firm voice from the head table. We'll revisit our pledge. It was the gray-haired donor who had recognized my kitchen. Respect, he added, is part of our philanthropy. Another donor nodded. A third typed something on her phone. Face unreadable. The energy shifted. Money moving quietly but decisively. Doctor. Theophilus Haynes's jaw locked. Marceline kept smiling, but her eyes flickered like candlelight about to gutter. The planner's headset crackled. Small panic disguised as logistics. I didn't gloat. I stood still. Steady as any nurse beside a beeping monitor, listening, not celebrating. Valora's color drained, then returned in a hot flush. She looked for something to blame and found the gold envelope. "This is tacky," she snapped, grabbing for it. Her hand knocked over a water glass. The envelope slipped, and one glossy photo slid free onto the white table runner. The picture lay face up, my hands beneath a lamp, stitching the champagne hem she'd worn down the aisle. A guest near the front leaned closer. "That's her table," he murmured. "Those are her hands." The words traveled fast, the way truth does when it doesn't need volume. Valora tried to snatch it up, but Marceline caught her wrist, whispering sharply, "Don't add to it." Reuben looked at the photograph, his expression softening as realization replaced confusion. It was one thing to hear the story, it was another to see it. I didn't move. I didn't have to. Truth had finally decided to show itself, and I wasn't about to get in its way. The venue manager returned, calm as before. He replaced the glass, straightened the envelope, and said, "We'll take a 10-minute reset." Kai Mercer nodded weakly. 10-minute reset, he repeated, voice small. Opal leaned in near my ear. "You want me to collect it?" "No," I whispered back. "Let it sit." Across the hall, one bridesmaid blotted tears from Valora's face while another scrolled her phone like she was reading the weather report for the storm that had just hit. I took a slow, steady breath. In medicine, sometimes a pause keeps the heart from stopping. In life, it does too. Valora leaned close to Reuben, her voice low but slicing through the murmur. "You're embarrassing me. Make her sit down. Show leadership." He answered without heat. "Leadership isn't cruelty. My mother stays." Marceline tried her turn. "We've invested a lot in this day," she said sweetly. Reuben's reply came firm. "You don't buy people, doctor," Haynes muttered. "Image, image, image, like the word could build walls again. It couldn't. I didn't insert myself. I wasn't the subject of the argument. I was the line they couldn't cross anymore." The air around us settled, not peaceful but clarified, like rain washing dust off glass. Then the venue manager lifted a hand. 10 minutes are up. Either we proceed with mutual respect, or we conclude. Reuben reached for the mic at the same time Valora did. Their hands hovered, inches apart, over one shared decision. I straightened my spine and folded my hands. However it ended, I was already free of pretending. Reuben's hand and Valora's hand hung over the microphone like two sides of a verdict waiting for gravity. The house lights softened, throwing little halos on every eyelash, every bead of sweat. I kept both feet planted, knees loose the way nurses do when they brace through a code blue, ready, steady, never guessing. Kai Mercer held a cue card labeled First Dance, but his arm lowered when the band leader didn't move. Marceline's smile glistened but didn't reach her eyes. "Doctor." Theophilus stared ahead, his mouth a single iron line. The donors leaned back in their chairs, arms folded, expressions unreadable. Opal stood by the AV table like a deacon keeping order at a stormy church meeting. I breathed in 4, out 6. That rhythm had kept people alive before. It would carry me now. Reuben cleared his throat. The mic was off, but the hall carried his voice. "We will not continue the ceremony today." He didn't shout. He didn't plead. It was the kind of sentence working men use to stop machinery before it burns out. Valora froze, eyes wide. Her mouth moved, whispering, "You can't." But no sound reached anyone. He turned not to her, not to me, but to the staff. "Please serve the food. Everyone will eat. Everyone will be tipped. Then we'll go." He laid the ring box on the head table, not dropped, not thrown, set down like a bill paid in full. He didn't look for my nod or my mercy. He stood in his choice, spine clean and tall. I placed my palms on the linen, whispering to myself. Balance due, settled, from the back. Pastor Curtis Dell raised his hand. The venue manager nodded permission. Pastor's voice came low, even. Love without respect harms the soul. Today, we'll choose respect. Just that. No sermon, no build-up. One clean line that held the room like a net. A quiet amen moved through the air, steady as wind through tall grass. Valora scoffed into her bouquet. Marceline hissed, "Enough." But that single sentence had already claimed the ground. Opal caught my eye and gave a slow nod, one that said, "That's the right dosage." I exhaled into the hush. Grateful for old men who knew when to stop talking, the venue manager approached the head toe, holding a folded paper. "Decorum clause enacted," he said. "Program concluded. Damage and disruption fees will be applied to the hosting party." His tone carried the calm of someone used to enforcing rules in chaos. The planner leaned forward, whispering. "Not now," he answered. "Exactly now," and circled 2 lines on his checklist. Security didn't grab anyone. They unplugged cables, covered microphones, shielded the staff from the storm that didn't come. Doctor. Theophilus reached for a pen, the reflex of a man used to signing his way out of trouble. The manager slid the invoice across, unshaken. Kai's voice echoed faintly over the speakers. "Thank you to our staff for your professionalism and grace." It landed like a benediction. Policy had stepped in where conscience failed, at the head table. The gray-templed donor leaned toward Theophilus. "We'll rescind our pledge to the Haynes Gala," he said, tone cool. "We support conduct, not spectacle." 2 others nodded, one tapping notes into his phone, likely copying board members. The air shifted, silent but seismic. Marceline's smile thinned to paper. The bridesmaids whispered, "What's happening?" Their dates answered softly, "Consequences." I didn't smile. Vindication without grace turned sour. I simply stood still. Opal nudged the gold envelope away from a sweating glass, keeping the proof dry and visible. The power in that gesture wasn't in exposure, it was in preservation. The busboy reappeared, balancing a fresh glass of water. "Ma'am, I saw the chart," he said quietly. "Meaning the video." I touched his wrist lightly. "Thank you for seeing." A young server stepped forward, whispering, "I'm sorry they sat you by the restroom." I gave her the smallest nod. "You carried yourself fine." A neighbor from church squeezed my shoulder. "You held the line right." I smiled back. "The kind that stays inside your ribs." "We eat, we tip, we go," I said. And it became the unspoken order of the room. The band, bless them, struck up a soft jazz standard, music gentle enough for people to chew through discomfort. The rhythm unwound my jaw. Dignity can rest without collapsing. Reuben approached my table, steps slow, his voice cracked just once. "Mom, I'm sorry." "Not boy sorry, man sorry," I met his eyes. "I'm not here to collect apologies. Baby, I came to see you make choices you can stand on." He nodded. Tears rimmed but held. I should have stopped it sooner. "You stopped it right when it mattered," I said, not when he hesitated, glancing at the gold envelope. "You want to take it?" "No," I told him. "Truth doesn't need a hand to hold it today." We stood together, close enough to share warmth, apart enough for him to be his own man, when it was time. I tipped the busboy, the florist, the servers, quiet thanks folded into bills. Opal slipped her arm through mine as we walked to the foyer. Neither of us looked back. Pastor Curtis held the door open. "Get home safe," he said. "That's enough blessing for one day." In the foyer. The manager thanked me for my calm. I replied, "You run a tight ship." Professionals recognize their own. The late light through the windows hit honest. No chandelier gloss, just sun and street. My shoulders dropped a half-inch. That's how you know the weight's off. Behind us. The sound of glass shattering snapped the quiet. A centerpiece had gone down. Valora's voice broke into sobs. Marceline's sharp tone followed. "We'll sue somebody." The door closed before I could hear who. My phone buzzed in my bag. Reuben's text glowed on the screen. "Mom, wait. There's one more thing I need to say. To you." I stopped on the top step, hand resting on the rail, Atlanta air cooling my face. Whatever came next. I was ready to meet it standing tall. I stopped halfway down the stone steps, hand on the railing, watching the last gold of daylight slip behind the Buckhead skyline. The air was softer now, still humid, but the kind that lets a woman breathe without fighting for it. My phone buzzed again. Reuben Kersey. "Mom, please wait. Need to say something face to face." I typed one period, our old shorthand for "I'm here." Opal Linton touched my elbow. "I'll pull the car around." I shook my head. "He needs his minute." She understood. Of course. She always did. Pastor Curtis Dell tipped his hat from the curb. "You good?" "We're all right," I said, though my knees argued otherwise. Behind me, through the glass doors, I saw the planner gesturing like a drowning woman while the venue manager stood unmoved. Clipboard steady, policy taking care of what people could not. I counted my breath. 4 in, 6 out, until the tremor in my chest found its rhythm again. Reuben appeared in the doorway, jacket off, tie hanging loose. His eyes were rimmed red, but they were clear for once. "Mom," he said. Voice lower than I remembered. I chose late, but I chose. "You chose clean," I told him. "That's what counts tomorrow." He nodded, took the last 2 steps down to stand level with me. "It's done. I'll end it completely. Written notice. Things returned. Everything documented." "That's the way," I said. "Order is peace." He swallowed. "I should have stopped her the first time she called you low class. I thought if I kept quiet, it'd pass." "Peace without truth," I said, "is quiet trouble. You were raised to tell the truth, even if your voice shakes." His head lowered once, a nod that cost something but freed more. My phone buzzed again. Email, Consortium of Education Donors. Statement of withdrawal and conduct, standard. I opened it. 3 familiar names lined the header. Men who once bid on peach cobblers at our church auction. Effective immediately, it read. We rescind pledges to the Haynes Foundation event due to failure to uphold basic respect. We extend our thanks to Madeline Kersey for modeling dignity under provocation. I didn't smile, just exhaled. Slow and even, justice doesn't need a grin to stand tall. Reuben leaned closer, reading over my shoulder. They saw. Enough people saw, I said. That's how grown change starts. Quiet, steady, on paper. Opal's sedan waited by the curb. Cool air and lemon oil scent wrapping me like Sunday morning. "You hungry for gumbo or just tea?" she asked. "Tea first," I said. "Gumbo after I remember my name." We drove through Atlanta's veins, glass towers fading into night while neighborhoods softened under porch light. My house in West End waited with its own kind of truth. Chipped railing, gardenia bush, the lamp that had never gone out even when money had inside. Opal filled the kettle. I texted Pastor Curtis. "Home safe. Thank you for 1 sentence." His reply came quick. 1 was plenty. I laid my purse on the counter and set the gold USB faith in the dish beside my keys. Truth. Waiting where I could reach it. Reuben sat on the porch step. Not higher, not lower, just beside me. "You gonna lecture me, Mom?" "No," I said. "We're setting terms. You won't post, you won't explain. All returns go through a witness." "Opal or Pastor Curtis," he said automatically. "Or the venue manager if needed." I added, "Keep receipts. I'll send an email tonight. No more contact except logistics." "Good," I said. "And remember, apology is not permission. Make your amends, then walk forward." He leaned back against the railing, a long breath escaping, for the first time in months. He didn't look trapped. A new buzz. An email from the venue manager. Subject line, incident report plus courtesy apology request. I opened it. The report was surgical. Timestamps, names, policy citations. It ended with, "We request a formal apology be extended to mother of the groom, Mrs. Madeline Kersey, copied to our donors." Opal whistled. "He put your name in the ledger. That's official." I replied, "Oh, thank you for your professionalism. Nothing more." "Dignity doesn't need decoration," Reuben murmured. "I'll forward it to my attorney. Keep a clean trail." He was learning that structure can heal as well as protect. Later. We drove to his apartment. It smelled of cardboard and detergent, that mix of starting over. He packed a small tote, ring box, borrowed book, unopened gifts. Opal logged each item with her Sunday school precision. I slid the duplicate inventory into the gold envelope, truth sealed in order. "You coming when I hand this over?" he asked. "Your witness is enough," I said. "I'm not your pressure. Baby, I'm your pause." He nodded, pocketing the key with quiet caution. No more doors without respect written on the lease. By the time we returned, the porch swing creaked like it was humming our story. Opal brought gumbo in mismatched bowls. Reuben stared at the yard. "I thought I'd look small standing with you." "You look taller now," I said. "Straight beats high any day." He smiled, the same half smile he gave me at 8 when he learned to ride alone. I touched his wrist, just 2 fingers. "Tomorrow you'll still be my son. Tonight, you're also my witness. The night gathered around us, steady and kind, then my phone buzzed again. Voicemail. Marceline Haynes's voice. Polished but cracking. We'd like to offer a statement for your channels to clear up misunderstandings. A second ping. An attorney's email from the donor consortium requesting a brief on conduct at event. Links to footage attached. I placed my palm over the gold envelope, feeling its weight against the wood table. Tomorrow, then, I said to the dark. We'll tell it in light they don't control. I woke before sunrise, out of habit more than alarm. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that felt earned. The kettle hissed low while the porch air pressed cool against my face. I checked my phone. An email from the venue manager, timestamped 6:03 a.m. Final incident report filed. Attached was a neat PDF, every word factual. The note below it read, apology request sent to hosting family at 9:17 p.m. A second buzz, the donor consortium calendar invite, board meeting at noon. Topic, reallocation of pledges consistent with conduct standards. I set my phone down beside the mug. Next to it, the small silver USB Faith caught the porch light like a pocket gavel. I texted Opal, noon at the community center. Bring your ledger hands. Her reply came back with a heart and a coffee cup. I opened my notepad and wrote a short heading. What closure looks like. No speech, no revenge, just 3 lines. Accept, redirect, build by mid-morning. Another ping, Marceline Haynes. We regret last night's misunderstandings. We value all families. I read it twice, tracing the word misunderstandings with my thumb. Then I typed a reply. Apology must name the harm plainly, called low class on a microphone, and name the correction. Respect is conduct, not couture. I copied the venue manager, donor council, and Pastor Curtis. The email was 4 sentences long, short, clean, surgical. 10 minutes later, Doctor. Theophilus responded, we will consult counsel. Take your time, I wrote back. The clock on pledges runs without you. No anger in my fingers, just accuracy. Grown people read tone and precision, not volume. I printed my message and slid it under my grandmother's cast iron paperweight. She'd called that thing her truth keeper. At noon. The folding chairs squeaked at the West End Community Center. The air smelled like floor wax, plywood, and burnt coffee. My kind of boardroom. The gray-templed donor cleared his throat. We moved to redirect Haynes' pledges to the Madeline Kersey Respect His Conduct Scholarship for first-generation nursing students. Another donor added a matching clause. A third motioned to start within 30 days. Hands rose, unanimous, no drama, just decision, I said. Thank you, and sat back. Sometimes gratitude in one breath carries more dignity than a speech in 10. Opal pointed to the bulletin board. We'll post the first students right there, she said, tapping the cork. Her smile looked like a sunrise I hadn't realized I needed. Back home. I set my phone on 2 cookbooks to steady the camera. Porch light behind me, daylight ahead. I pressed record. I'm Madeline Kersey, I said, voice steady. Mother of the groom last night. I was called low class on a mic. Respect is not inherited. It's exercised. I'm fine. We're redirecting last night's money to train nurses. I looked into the lens, added, if you ever get sat by the restroom, stand anyway. Meet me at the end of that aisle. 1 take. Opal nodded. That's a word. We uploaded it to the church page in the community center site. Pastor Curtis shared it with the caption, she didn't clap back, she built, at 3:08 p.m. My inbox chimed again. Subject, formal apology. The message came signed by Marceline herself. To Madeline Kersey, I called you low class during your son's reception. That was wrong. I apologize for my words and the harm they caused. Respect is conduct. We accept the consortium's decision. No excuses, no if, no but, just the line clean as linen, I replied. Acknowledged? That was enough. Minutes later, Ruben texted a screenshot, about time. I smiled, printing the apology and sliding it behind the venue report in a folder labeled Kept Promises. Then I tucked it beside the USB. Tools, not trophies. That evening, Ruben met Valora in the venue foyer. With Opal as witness, I didn't go. Boundaries aren't threats, they're fences that keep peace inside. He returned the ring and the gifts. She handed back my mother's locket. Opal logged each item, her handwriting calm as gospel. Valora whispered. "She humiliated us." Opal didn't flinch. "She outlasted you. That's different." When Reuben texted "done," something light slipped loose in my chest, like air leaving a pressure cuff. By nightfall, the gumbo was reheated. Crickets sang backup. Reuben and I sat on the porch swing, bowls warm in our hands. "I thought class was how people looked at you," he said. "It's how you look back." I told him, eyes level. Pastor Curtis arrived with a manila envelope. "They wanted to be first through the door," he said, leaving the first small checks for the scholarship. Opal spread her ledger on the table. 3 students already shortlisted by the clinic. I circled one name and murmured, "For her mother's double shift." We raised our spoons like glasses. Quiet toasts build big rooms. Later, I recorded one more message, this one for the church seniors group. "If they call you names, don't trade your name to answer," I said. "Set your table, eat, tip, go. Then build something that outlives the noise," I ended with. I was sat by a restroom, and I still walked that aisle. "You can too." The comments rolled in. "Say that. I needed this today. Saved it for my granddaughter." I let them pass through me like a hymn. Felt, not kept. Opal nudged my shoulder. "You know you just preached." I smiled. "Somebody had to, before bed." I slid Faith into the drawer and turned the key, not to hide it, but to save it for whoever might need to borrow the truth one day. The porch light went off, the house light stayed on. "Respect is conduct," I whispered into the quiet, and the walls seemed to agree. Tomorrow we'd pick the first student and make tuition look easy for once. Tonight, I rested in the truth that held. When they tried to seat me by the door, I became one, for other folks to walk through.